Good evening, everybody from Kerrville, Texas. I'm Brian Entin in for Ashley tonight. Obviously, we're pressing pause on what you would normally see on this program on NewsNation at this hour while we keep you updated live on the flood disaster still unfolding literally all around me right now. It's been almost 4 days since the nearby Guadalupe River rose almost 30 feet in less than an hour after unbelievably torrential rains. Now 104 people are confirmed dead. 27 of those were campers and counselors at summer camp for girls, Camp Mystic. That's where 11 people, 10 girls and one counselor, they are still unaccounted for tonight. You just think about what their families are going through right now. This part of Texas, it's a beehive of activity tonight. Search and rescue efforts, they are still in high gear. Crews refusing to give up until every single missing person is located. The Coast Guard just told us a little while ago they intend to go all night long. Over the next hour, you'll see what our NewsNation crews and I have seen during the daylight hours. In just a minute, you'll meet two men who chose not to watch this rescue from home. They raced to the disaster area and they went to work purely as volunteers, and there are a lot of men and women just like them doing it right now. One of them has a family member and a special connection to Camp Mystic. But first, I want to bring in NewsNation correspondent Xavier Walton. He's been here for days now. He was actually outside Camp Mystic all day long. It was such a heart-wrenching scene, Xavier, behind you when we saw them, bringing the girls' items out of the rooms. There was so much pink. Where are you tonight?
Hey, Brian, so we just came down the hill right on the Guadalupe River. We were about 5 miles away from Camp Mystic. And let me tell you, when we were up there, it really is two different scenarios, two different scenes playing out. You know, you have the search and the active rescue, and you have overhead, you have the Coast Guard, and then you also have Black Hawk helicopters. There were divers in the water in the Guadalupe River again. And then you go inside the camp. Then you go inside the cabins. We have that video to show you. Here's the thing. This is a Texas tradition at summer camps. You get a trunk. You decorate the trunk. We watched one by one these trunks literally be carried out of this one cabin and then placed on this field. On top of the trunks, we also saw blankets. We saw pillows, all a reminder of who was once in those cabins, Brian. Also today, we saw a new video from the Kerr County Sheriff's Office sending out aerial footage of what it was like after the flash flooding happened. And when you see it from above, it is just amazing to see how much water fell in such a short time and all the damage left behind, the trail of destruction. Think about this too, search and rescue crews, this is what they're having to comb through to find whoever's left out there, to find those that perhaps didn't survive, and to perhaps give closure as well. We spoke to members of search and rescue teams. Here's what one of them had to say.
It's about the only thing you can say about what you're doing. You know, that's all it is. It's just trying to help people get reunited with their loved ones and not in the outcome that they were hoping.
So you're kind of getting a little emotional, right? Is that from what you're seeing, or is that from what you're doing, or is that the communication with your son?
It's everything. It's years of, you just kind of remember back, but it's right here. There's so many kids. And I can deal, you can deal with, and adults and things like that, but the kids.
And Don was back out there today. We spoke with them before we came on with you. I'm gonna grab some, I'm gonna step out of the shot really quick. There's debris everywhere, right? Just reminders of just the devastation. We're here in Hunt. The Hunt store is just over there. We saw just this piece of board, but we noticed there was writing on it. That there was names and messages, and then we realized it was a camp tradition to write with Sharpie, obviously inside. And this board here, thanks for being a cool counselor. So nice to meet you. These are all messages to the same person, we're assuming a camp counselor. Keep in touch over the years. I mean, Brian, you look around and you see stuff like this. I mean, these were innocent little girls at a Christian camp, and never in a million years did they think this was going to be the reality.
Oh my gosh, Xavier, that's so sad. I mean, when you showed us those messages, like you said, I mean, it just shows the innocence. I remember being in camp, writing on the wall. I remember having the trunk. These are memories for so many kids, and just these little girls. I mean, you think about 10 of them still missing tonight, and you can understand why these grown men, these search and rescue guys, even they're getting choked up, because I think it's just different when kids are involved. What is the latest on the search and rescue? I mean, we had a gentleman from the Coast Guard here not long ago saying this is definitely still a rescue operation. They're keeping that up. But have they covered a lot of area in terms of where you are right around the camp?
Yeah, it was really interesting because even in areas that you would think, okay, that's cleared, they were still going back. They didn't want to leave, it sounds cliche, but they didn't want to leave a stone unturned. Also you mentioned the Coast Guard. There are so many nonprofit organizations coming here to help. We came across one crew that was on horseback going to areas that, you couldn't get to by foot, you couldn't get to by boat, you can only go by horse. We ran into them. They were searching, obviously, as well. Spoke to another gentleman late tonight. He said he's so exhausted. He's been searching the last 4 days. He's not going out tomorrow, but his team is bringing in heavy machinery because that's the only way they can move and get to areas that they haven't searched yet. And as you say, there's still 10 girls missing, one counselor. These guys say they're not stopping until those people are found because they want to give these families the closure they so rightfully deserve.
And it's interesting, I mean, in so much of the video that we see now of the camp and that video that you got of when they were taking the trunks out, it's dry now, so you forget that the water was actually up to almost the roof in many of those cabins. Is that right?
No, that's exactly right. And here's the other thing, Brian. You and I have both been on the ground for hurricanes. This is way different than anything I've ever seen with any hurricane. And you think about this, we covered Hurricane Milton and Helene last year. But when you looked at some of the areas and then just where the damage was from the water and on the trees and how high it was, you're seeing bedding, that sort of material, 40 feet up in the air. I mean, that is amazing to think and just stunning to see in person. There was a lot of emotion there today. That's why I said, in the very beginning of this, it was really, the Guadalupe River split it in half. There was this active scene, the search going on, but at the camp, inside of those cabins, it was somber, it was emotional. It was a bit eerie, just being there. You felt the weight of it all.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's interesting what you say about a hurricane. I was actually just saying that to someone. This doesn't feel anything like a hurricane. We're used to covering hurricanes, but with this, the fact that it came in the middle of the night, there wasn't much warning. It was this wall of water that filled these cabins while people were sleeping. To me, I mean, I'm a Florida guy. This is so much more frightening than a hurricane. What are you hearing, Xavier? I mean, you've been out and about for the last 2.5 days. In terms of this frustration, was there enough time with the warning? Are people talking about that at this point? I mean, are they upset that there weren't sirens?
There are definitely a handful of people that are, honestly, they're frustrated, and rightfully so. The siren take, I've definitely heard that. But there are so many people that are just frustrated that the resources didn't get here sooner, at least to this area. And honestly, the worst part about this is the timing when it happened. In my mind, it always goes, to these kids. I mean, just think about these young children in the heart of the night. They're probably sleeping, or maybe they're up, it's camp. Maybe they're up talking at a flashlight. I don't know, but I mean, just think about how horrible that must have been for them.
Yeah, it's heart-wrenching to think about. And you just think about, too, I mean, they keep saying a once-in-a-lifetime weather event, too. So even with warning, I mean, sometimes Mother Nature, we just see the brunt of it, and it's just terrible. Xavier, you've been doing an incredible job out there. Appreciate you tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. I want to bring in now Greg Froelich and also Brooks Holzhausen. They're volunteers. Come on over here, guys. They're volunteers. They're with the Search and Rescue Recovery Group. They're also members of actually a social and competitive cooking group in Texas called 300 Justice Road. But it's interesting, this cooking group has sort of now switched into search and rescue. Greg, we've seen the aerial photos, we've seen a lot of video from the ground, but take us into what it's actually like. What is the terrain like?
Well, I mean, you got a cliffside on one side of the river. Trees a lot like what we're seeing right here, but a higher density of trees. And when we got out there Saturday, we've cleared out a lot where we were, but you're talking cars wrapped around trees, split in half, debris piles 20 plus feet high, guardrails twisted up like I don't even know. Like it's I don't know how to describe it. It's pure destruction. And then the amount that this river spread, laterally, usually it's, I don't know, 50 yards.
Yeah.
But spread to a couple hundred yards. So, I mean, you're just seeing piles and piles of trees that, 65 plus foot trees, yeah.
Debris,
Yeah.
construction debris, right? Houses that are decimated by the impact of the power of Mother Nature, right? And then there's people in there that were in there that night, and so that's what I think, get your head, try to get your head around that, right? And just seeing the terrain certainly, and then what's on the terrain now, all the debris, I've been calling them nests, right? Just like huge nests that are big as houses, and our guys are taking those apart to see, what's inside, and try to get the kids home, try to get families, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, so many people affected by it. So working our way through that terrain is the part that is the biggest challenge, in doing it in a thoughtful manner, because we don't know when it's going to be our turn to find somebody's family member. So.
And you, Brooks, have a connection to the camp, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, both my daughters were counselors at Camp Mystic over the last few years. So they both they're grown now, in college, but certainly has a special spot in their heart, in our house, and the community we live in. So.
Is that the area where you've been searching, right near the camp?
Yes, sir, it has. We spent the last 2 days just below the Mystic Dam. Started day one, dropped in right below the Mystic Dam, and like he was saying, working both sides of the river. The one side of the river, I guess the west side of the river is just, it's a bluff, right? But there's a lot of debris on that bluff and it's all got to be sifted through. So, that's been our focus, and we want to, kind of the cloth these men are cut from, our team is cut from. We don't do anything haphazard, so it's important to us to do it the right way. Yeah. And so we got a lot of guys really hustling, trying hard to accomplish that.
Yeah, it makes sense that you can't really leave a stone unturned, because someone could be down there, and these are families who are waiting, and
yes, sir.
You wouldn't want to skip over the wrong section, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Greg, I'm trying to conceptualize it in my mind. I mean, how big of an area is it that needs to be searched? Do you think are we talking days, weeks more searching? I mean,
well, if you wanted to do it thoroughly, yeah, I mean, it would take months.
It would take months, yeah?
It would take months.
Yep.
100%.
Is that just because, the Coast Guard was telling us earlier, with the way the current was going, there's people that have been found. There was a woman who survived that was found, they said 20 miles away. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
So think about the 20 miles. If you start from, if we're just talking about the camp, because there's still people up from the camp. You know, there's still destruction up there, but if you just start from the camp to where this person was found, you're talking about 20 miles. Now you're talking about 20 miles. It could be a span of 400 yards across as you're searching. And then in the heart of it, it's worse than this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the amount of earth that moved down from wherever this started, you know, now you're talking different, the ground is now a different level. There wasn't the level it is anymore. So now you got 4 feet plus of new earth.
And I think you have another dimension, right? Because now the water's receded, but when that water receded, you could have victims up in the treetops. A fork in a tree that somebody catches an ankle on or a knee, and so the water recedes, but they're still up there. So now it's not just looking on the ground, but we got to look up, you know, because there's those same debris, those nests are elevated as well, and they might be 40 feet above. So, you know, you kind of study that literally with binoculars, you know, where you can peer in there and really get a closer look and doing the best we can, you know.
Where I was yesterday, there was so much mud. I don't know if it was just that certain spot, but there was mud everywhere. Have you encountered that? Is that, do you have to search beneath the mud? I mean, how does that part of it work?
Dogs.
Yeah, so we've got a few cadaver dogs, have worked with a few cadaver dogs, and they'll alert. And so I'm told these dogs can identify scent at up to 15 feet under the soil or under, you know, the silt or the river rock or whatever, because to his point, that riverbed, I mean, it's changed. And you know, so we've had some alerts to where we couldn't find anything, but the animal's nose is so keen, there might be just a little something there, and they, you know, or something was there, and maybe it got washed further down. So it's kind of it's a strange experience, because if we find somebody, that's success, right? So that's, you know, that kind of makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck, you know, when you're finding a body.
Yeah.
That, again, somebody's loved one, and that's success. I mean,
there's a little bit of closure.
But it's part of the deal, and it's success because that family has that opportunity, you know.
Yeah, and I think I've said it over and over again, but something about it being 10 kids who are still missing from the camp. I don't know. You can't really shake that. It just bothers you to your core. It seems. I mean, for me, you know, it's.
No, so, and that's why, I mean, every day, you know, our prayers go out to those families, right, that are going to have a struggle, you know, and God bless them. And I think that's what drives us every day in our team to, you know, work as hard, push as hard as we can every day, because that could be my turn.
Yeah.
And it's not. So we want to do all we can to support that, and you know, and we also think about the you know, success stories, right? There was a boys camp down there, La Junta, right? And some of the young men that were counselors at that facility, and the staff, and right, they did some heroic stuff there. So there's been a lot of stories of heroism at this event too. So I think that's, you know, we talk a lot about that on you know, some of these young men and women, right, and young ladies, you know, some of the really impressive things that they did and lives that were saved.
Yeah.
But I've got, you know, I've got some friends that had boys at La Junta, and just some of the heroic things that were done there, and you know, all these camps. I mean, we've got connections to all of them with, you know, friends, family, acquaintances, and it's just it's an awful thing, right?
Yeah.
That so much good comes out of these camps, and now something like this. So hopefully everybody can dig deep and continue the tradition and remember tragic events like this. So.
Yeah, and I know when you guys are out there during the day and you're probably just focused on the work you're doing, you can kind of get in the zone, but I think at night you guys got to take care of yourselves too, because that's kind of when I'm sure it starts to creep in. So Brooks, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Really a pleasure meeting you.
Yes,
Greg.
sir, likewise.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the work you're doing. I mean, the fact that you guys are just volunteers and out in this all day, every day, it's really says a lot. So
Thank you.
thank you guys very much.
you.
All right.
Good night.
These stories are, I mean, there's so much sadness here, but there's, you meet amazing heroes like these two. So, wow. Okay. Coming up, even as first responders work day and night to locate the missing, thousands of flood survivors are grateful to be alive and wondering what is next. We are back live in Kerr County, Texas. Our live coverage continues after the break. Across Flash Flood Alley, that's what they call it here in Texas. They actually call it Flash Flood Alley. Families of the missing and waiting and praying, and they're not doing very much sleeping right now. And many of their neighbors are not either. They're all just sort of just waiting for these 10 girls to be found. The wall of water that surged out of the Guadalupe riverbanks early Friday morning swept away homes, cars, and trees, leaving survivors to sift through the waterlogged remains of whatever was not washed away. I spoke with some of them earlier about their experience. There was a house here, this big pad. There was a house that literally got picked up by the river and taken away. Inside, there was a family of 4, a mom, a dad, a 1-year-old little baby, and a 14-year-old. And the neighbors say the mom, the dad, and the baby are still missing right now. The 14-year-old is in the hospital.
We've been trying to get a hold of her unsuccessfully. And I kept telling Tammy, it's not like her not to get in contact with someone.
There's so many people missing. There's so many.
So the water's gone down substantially now, but it was up to pretty much where my neck is, where I'm standing, and you can see these homes were just totally moved. And you look inside, I mean, the water just took the walls down. Everything inside is destroyed. There's mud everywhere, and this just shows you, I mean, if you were sleeping inside in the middle of the night in your bed in a house like this, you would have been swept right out. So you know some of the people who are missing?
Yeah, I've known my coach, and his wife Paula was my English teacher, and yeah, I mean, and I knew one guy, Julian, he was a good friend of mine. He passed away too, so. I mean, yeah, it's pretty devastating right now for the most part. I mean, never seen it like this. It's pretty bad. I mean, as you can see, I mean, it's a lot to take in at times, so.
So right now you've got volunteers and cadaver dogs and first responders going through all of these wooded areas along the river, looking for any human remains. We're told that in some instances, they found bodies 10 miles away, 10 miles downriver, because the current has just been so strong.
I know the people that run the camp. They're incredibly Christian people. He's on all kinds of boards here in Kerrville. They're incredibly giving, and they're somewhere. We have to find them. But the water was raging, so, I mean, they found bodies in Center Point, which is, 10 miles down the road. The water was raging. And no telling where we're going to find everybody. I just pray we find everybody.
And so FEMA will not be the only financial lifeline for these survivors. Private companies such as the San Antonio-based supermarket chain H-E-B are helping out, and hundreds of GoFundMes have also launched. You can help out too. Please check out the QR screen the QR code that we've got on your screen right there. If you scan that with your cell phone, it'll take you to our website where we've got a list of several different organizations, local organizations too, and ways that you can help, because man, they need the help here. All right, still to come, once-in-a-century flood and a warning system that we have found was stuck in the past. No sirens, no system to wake people up. Is this the best that they could do here? Could this catastrophe have actually been prevented? We know the National Weather Service, the feds, they were staffed up. They put the warnings out, but what happened at the local level? We've got that part of the story coming up next. All right, we're back with continuing coverage of the deadly flooding in Texas. In Kerrville, a flood gauge recorded the water rising from 1 foot to 34 feet in just hours. It was a surge with the force of Niagara Falls. Think about that, Niagara Falls. As that water rushed in, the National Weather Service did issue flash flood warnings, including an alert sent to phones. But that's not always enough, especially in the dead of the night. And in Kerr County, the primary phone alert system uses White Pages data. White Pages, if you even remember what that is. If you're not listed or you didn't opt in, you don't get the alerts, which proved to be a big problem. The city posted on Facebook, but who's checking Facebook at 4 o'clock in the morning? Again, most people were sleeping at that time. And at Camp Mystic, where children and counselors were killed, and where some are still missing tonight, 10 girls still missing, a counselor still missing, phones and other devices there are banned. There's really no way to receive an alert. So why wasn't Kerr County better prepared? I'm joined now by my NewsNation colleague, Laura Engel, who has been digging into that. Laura, it's nice to see you. Officials relied on another very outdated form of communication, it seems, to get the word out.
Hey, Brian. Yeah, great reporting out there. And we have been digging into this. And you mentioned it there. So many people have this lingering question as we move through this devastating story. And we are learning now that some of the systems that were in place were simply word of mouth, because these alerts went to cell phones that simply weren't there, as you mentioned. A lot of people did not have cell phones at these camps, so the alerts went to phones that were tucked away somewhere at a bedroom or at a home far, far away. I wanted to read you one of the alerts that went out. The urgent warning said, "Seek higher ground now. Life-threatening flash flooding expected." Again, those went to phones that maybe, didn't have the spotty cell service and weren't there. But we're learning now that upriver camp leaders would warn those downriver camp leaders of the water surge coming their way by word of mouth. What does that mean? We still have to find out what that means. If that means that some of these camp counselors at different upriver would go down by bicycle or somehow get the word of mouth. I mean, that's what is being reported tonight. But a huge question. No sirens, too expensive. And that's just another devastating turn of all this, Brian.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the sirens, Laura, because you think about at a camp, you got all the kids in the cabins. If they had really loud sirens there, you would think that would be enough to at least wake some of them up, some of the counselors up, who could then wake more people up and get everybody moving. Because again, it's interesting when you hear and you see it for yourself. I mean, you just have to get to higher ground. That isn't always that far away. I mean, it might only be, 100 yards away and you're suddenly out of the floodwater. So what is the deal with the sirens? Have we been able to figure anything out?
So unfortunately, right now, as we report tonight, it looks like it all came down to money. Now, Kerr County reportedly does have sirens in some areas, but not near Camp Mystic. Other Texas River counties with systems in place include Kendall and Como County. Decisions are made at the local level. They are not required by federal or state laws, as you mentioned. In 2017, we saw it there on your screen, there was a proposal that was put out that required a lot of money, but it was denied. And a lot of people said, look, by the time some of these systems are in fact granted, and it'll be a 10-year rollout, and some of these systems might be, just too old to be put in place. That's one of the things that we have learned. But again, that $1 million grant was denied, many people feeling that it was just simply too costly. Some of the alerts they felt, some of the sirens that would go off accidentally were reportedly a nuisance to some, but this was voted down. So a lot more questions, and we've been hearing from those local officials in all of these pressers that we've heard. They said, look, we want to get to finding the victims right now. We'll circle back to that later, but this is just a major, major question. And when you hear that it may have all come down to money, a lot more answers need to be made.
Yeah, and the lieutenant governor has now said, look, even if the county government could not afford the sirens, we will now step in as a state and pay for sirens, because we now, of course, with everything that happened, realize how important that is.
Sure.
It's interesting, though, Laura, when we talk about, this was obviously like a historic event in terms of, a once-in-a-lifetime flood event. But when I talk to people here, they talk about flooding, and many of the sort of the old timers talk about the 80s, 40 years ago, they had a really serious flood then too.
Yeah, 1987. This is something that keeps coming up. So many have pointed to that flood nearly 40 years ago, another historic flood that was going on 26 feet high. That's how fast the water got up. And take a look at some of this footage that we've been able to find to show you exactly what happened. It swept a school bus off the road. 10 teenagers were killed, 33 injured. So this area has lived through it before, but sirens still aren't in places where they are needed the most. But when you think about it, Brian, so let's say that the sirens did go off, and it's just something that, just a talking point. The sirens go off, let's say at 4 o'clock in the morning. They get those children out of bed, they get them in buses, and then look at what happened here in 1987. Could that have happened again, where you get people on buses and then you've got this flash flood? Then you're dealing with another situation. It just all happens so fast. There's got to be a solution, but many people are saying you need the sirens, you need the alerts, you need the phones, you need all of it to keep people safe.
Yeah, it is weird when you look at that video, Laura. It's like basically looks the same as what happened here over the weekend, and the helicopters and the pulling the people up. But I do think the buses thing is an interesting point, because just based on my own observations here, I don't think you need the buses in terms of evacuating the kids. They just have to get to higher ground. And even seeing some of these campsites, and even where we are right now, the water came up, it swept away these homes that were behind me. But if you went another literally 300-400 feet in this direction, you would be on dry ground where the water never hit. So right. you don't necessarily need the buses to get the kids away. I think that that's a misconception that people are talking about. You could have literally just gotten them out of the cabins and said, run in that direction, and they would have been on higher ground pretty soon. So
right. And
just
that's
a terrible
what the alert
situation.
said.
It's awful.
That is actually what the alert read: seek higher ground now. So that was the alert that went out to the phones that could get those alerts.
Yeah, terrible. All right, Laura Ingle, appreciate you very much for digging into all of that. Still to come tonight, when disaster strikes, this team shows up again and again. If you've had a disaster in your town, you've probably seen them. World Central Kitchen, they're on the ground here in Texas, keeping survivors and first responders going like nobody else. I'm going to show you what they're doing. And where they are here, what they think of the disaster. They go to all the disasters, so they've got an interesting perspective on this. That's coming up after the break. So to a person who suddenly has nothing, a hot meal can be absolutely everything. Nobody knows that better than the people at World Central Kitchen, who were up and cooking here in Central Texas as soon as the water went down. Samantha Elfmont is the organization's response director. She joins us live now. Thanks for being with us, Samantha. I know you guys have been working long hours, and it's hot and buggy out here, and the conditions aren't great. But what has the experience been like? You've covered so many disasters.
Yeah.
What makes this unique for you guys?
We're a worldwide organization, but again, we're very much focused in the U.S. It's where the need is. So is that in Asia? Is that in the U.S.? We're there. Texas, it's hard for us here. This one's different because we're very much in a search and rescue situation. It's a national tragedy. But at the same time, recovery has started and people are trying to get their life. What does their new life look like? So this response and the attention and the love that's pouring out, not to sound cheesy, is genuinely different than anything else that we've seen in the U.S. in the past year or so.
Is it really?
This is different. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's complicated.
I felt it too, though, in terms of, the response has been great. It seems like a lot of people, especially within the last day, are coming in.
Yeah, actually, I was just talking to the response coordinator. We're at the same hotel together, and he said that the people who are here now are the people who are needed, and they are the ones who are organized logistically and meeting the needs. So they didn't encourage anyone else I will say I think the state's doing a great job, but us as an organization, we have a feeding group that we meet every day to make sure that those pockets are met and that there's not overfeeding, no food waste, and that we truly are there for the local residents here, despite what the media is saying and the attention on other situations. So.
What are some of the personal stories you're hearing? I mean, because when people come to get food, I know oftentimes it's almost like an emotional moment, and they will share things.
Yeah, so actually I was down in Hunt today. Thankfully, we call ourselves, we have these scouts. So they go around. We're there doing, we call them last mile, so that we're coming into residential areas and seeing, do you need help? Do you need meals or do you not? Can you tell us more? And today we met this community organizer. It's 50 homes. Rosa, amazing. She'd be okay with me sharing her name. She saved a life, a child and a husband. She can't swim. She got in her kayak and she saved those 2 lives, and she risked her own life. And now what she's doing, since she's still here with us and alive, she's organizing the needs of that community. That's the hot meals, the cold sandwiches. We bring electrolytes with a bottle of water. We'll put it in for you to make sure you actually stop and take it and you hydrate. It is hot and humid here in lovely Texas, so we want people to take care of themselves and find out what their needs are. So Rosa today, we go with community leaders. That's our organization. We'll set Rosa and her community up for success for this week, and then what they need as they continue their recovery.
And then they'll just stay in touch with you guys.
Yeah, of course. We make sure that they have what they need before we ever leave. So that's what we do. We say communities are our superpower, but we truly need that, know that. And also we get all of our food locally. So almost all the food is grown in Texas. All the meat is from Texas. We're using local restaurants. So then they can also connect with their community restaurant partners down the road.
Yeah, you talk about Rosa. I mean, there's been so much focus on the death numbers. I mean, now over 100 people, and these 10 little girls are still missing right now, which is just like, it just breaks your heart to think about. But you also hear these amazing stories like what you shared about Rosa, and just neighbors who like saved people. I mean, there's over 850 people rescued. Have you heard any others?
Of rescues?
Yeah.
Okay, another great story. It's not a story, it's a life. Wilma, she lost her trailer, she lost her car, but she has her 15-year-old Chihuahua and was able to get to the place where she works. And we met her there because we go out and make sure that people who are in these hotels who are now without homes are able to get what they need while they do the paperwork, those insurance things. Wilma is set up for success. We dropped off dinner to her last night and dog food, and she, had her meetings today to make sure that the insurance companies are helping her out.
Yeah.
So we're there for those community members. Today we were driving through Hunt. Our safety and security team laughed at me. Stop. There is a roadside crew. They're just working. We stop them there in the sun, give them the water, electrolytes, and a fresh cold sandwich, and they're so happy, and they can keep working with that debris.
I bet. Yeah, and I can hear a helicopter tonight. The Coast Guard was telling us earlier they're going to search. Tonight also they've got infrared technology, so the search will go on all night long. What is this hashtag Chefs for Texas, by the way? I saw that somewhere.
So we always, where we go and we have big responses, we do the hashtags. It helps us collect our chef corps. We had 2 chefs, Chef Jorge Luis and Chef Tavel from San Antonio, who helped us. That's that hashtag. They were able to help us with their culinary kitchen, get the sandwiches ready, even from San Antonio here quickly. That's how we keep our network. So if something else happens in Texas, we know who to call.
Makes sense.
We were here on July 4th feeding that night as the happy endings. Those people were reunited because of things like our chef corps. So that's why we use that hashtag.
And just lastly, I mean, just a shout out to you guys because I've covered a lot of disasters.
Yeah.
You always hear the food is actually very good, which I think it's just people, when you're going through something like this, to have a meal that actually tastes good.
Yeah, and we listen. So if people, hey, dinner was good tonight, we listen. Dinner wasn't that great tonight, we listen, and we do the local foods, right? So right now, we're feeding a lot of first responders. Let's give them those wrapped up subs so they can hop in the helicopter, hop on the horse, and that's mobile. But then when people can sit down at night, first responders' families, we're providing barbecue and Italian food, local food, nothing new. We're not gonna come up and show you sushi tonight. We're gonna make sure that you're having pasta bolognese or brisket.
And you'll be busy tomorrow, I'm sure.
We're busy tomorrow. We're tripling the need tomorrow and making sure that families are there. Just Hunt and Ingram alone's only 3,000 residents. We fed already 1 in 4 residents.
Wow, wow.
So,
well, thank you for all you're doing, Samantha, and World Central Kitchen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It was nice meeting you.
Thanks for having
Maybe we'll
me
see you around tomorrow.
Yes.
They've been working very hard. Before we close out the hour, I want to go back to some of the most important details I can give you tonight, how you can help the survivors and the families of the victims. Our live special report will continue after this break. So I know your screens and your news feeds have been filled with images of devastation here in Central Texas all weekend long, but I want to end this special hour of Banfield by pointing you to that little blue box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. You see it right there. It's little, but it's down there. It's a QR code. It's linked to a web page NewsNation has put together. There's a ton of ways there that you can help. We just had World Central Kitchen on, but we always try to put local charities there also. American Red Cross, but also local charities, slew of organizations, local churches. So take a look. You can pick an organization that you're interested in and you can help, because I'm telling you, they need the help out here. I mean, the stories are just devastating. 30 feet from where I'm standing, there was a house that is just gone tonight. And there is a mom, a dad, and a 1-year-old baby all missing. And these are the kinds of stories that you hear over and over again as you go up and down the Guadalupe River. So think about them. Think about the 10 campers, the little girls still missing tonight. Think about their parents. We'll be here to cover it as it continues to unfold. Thank you for watching our special edition of Banfield Tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.